So the Chicago Sky fired head coach Teresa Weatherspoon, which I think caught a lot of people by surprise. Caught me by surprise as well, but I can't say it's shocking. The Sky appear to be a bit of a mess as a franchise behind the scenes, whatever's going on over there. And I'm not saying that Teaspoon deserved to be canned necessarily, but they did not have a good season. I see a lot of spin after the fact as if they exceeded expectations or anything like that. Now, a lot of that wasn't her fault. Kennedy Carter missed a ton of time. They traded Marina Mabrey, which didn't make any sense, at least for this current roster. She was one of two players, along with Carter, who could actually score the basketball. After the season ended, they had players on the podium in tears because of the way they were treated during the season by fans. And it didn't seem like the support structure said anything about that. Angel Reese expressed how upset she was that Coach Spoon was fired, saying she chose Chicago because of her. Well, she didn't do that. She was drafted to the Sky. But, there was there was that game where they force fed Reese the ball after it was decided to try to get her a double double. I'm not sure that does much for team building and culture. And it just seemed like every time we were talking about the Sky, there was some sort of turmoil behind the scenes and some unrest. So I'm not shocked they made a change. And I'm especially not shocked considering the GM was hired after the head coach. And usually GMs want to go and pick their own head coach. Now, where the Sky go from here, Kennedy Carter is a free agent, I believe. So it's no guarantee that she returns. And with her history, clearly there's always something going on behind the scenes there. Unfortunately, she missed some time with a sickness, and there were other aspects and factors that played in this season. But when it comes to her ability, she was great, and she had a really good season. So I think they will miss that shot creation if she's gone, but clearly a combustible personality as well. And I hope she can keep her WNBA career going because she's a hell of a talent. They made the Mabry trade, like I said, which she was one of their best players. Their foundation is obviously Cardoso, who played better as the season went along, and Angel Reese. That's the foundation from which they will build, but they really need perimeter and guard help. They just don't have much to offer when it comes to perimeter play and guard play. So if you're telling me to prognosticate to next season right now, I would say that more of the same until things change. And then there's Angel, who has a chance to take a leap. That would be the biggest thing for them is if Angel as a basketball player takes a leap, finishes the ball more, develops a shot, those sort of things. But she's also how do I put this? Because I'm not trying to be too critical, but Angel makes that statement about Coach Spoon at exit interviews. She had also said Spoon was too soft at times, and that was like a criticism. I don't know what was said about the coach. It was a nicely put criticism. She was trying to be complimentary in doing it, but nonetheless, it was a critique. And a bunch of the players must have said something for this to happen, I would think, or at least the organization got a vibe. But again, the organization may just be a mess too. I saw a social media manager get fired and sort of allude to that sort of thing. And Reese, she can take that leap as a basketball player. She had joked that she was in the GM's ear. So I thought that was interesting, especially with the timing. She probably wishes she could take back that line, especially as bent out of shape as fans get about players playing GM. And then there's the other stuff with Reese where she's commenting on the unrest in the WNBA, if you will, and blaming the media. And again, I don't want to see her or anybody else on the receiving end of any backlash from fans. But Reese did also say she embraced the villain role, right? Like when you go and find Caitlin Clark to taunt her, and when you say the kind of stuff she said at the beginning of this season, cheer on the Carter thing, people are going to feel a certain type of way. Now that when it's a sports fan sort of reaction, like we're rooting against you, that's okay. When it goes beyond that, of course, it's not okay. But Reese, she knows what she's doing as far as garnering attention. She's good at it. In fact, her podcast, I mean, I saw a tweet saying she was collecting Caitlin Clark haters like Infinity Stones. You got Cheryl Swoops going on her pod and was on her pod. You have, I think Dejanay Carrington is scheduled to be on her pod. And by the way, those are good guests. Like, it's good booking. I would take each of them in a second if I could book them to talk to them. So it is good media by Angel Reese, no question. And she's very good at media. But it's also fairly transparent in the sense of this is a way to get the Caitlin Clark viewership over to the show. Because why would people tune in to hear Cheryl Swoops? What's the first clip out the door? What she says about Caitlin Clark. What was the first thing on Reese's first show? What the fans said, Caitlin Clark fans said about her. Obviously, if Dejanay Carrington is on the show, what's the first clip that's going to be thrown out there? Whatever Carrington says about Clark or the Fever fans or anything of that ilk. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's not pretty clear what Angel is doing in that regard. Is there anything wrong with it? You know, not necessarily, but again, it's good media business, and I would take those guests, but it's fairly transparent. But the state of that franchise is kind of in disarray right now. Now, you got to give the GM some time to build. He clearly must have made that Mabry trade with the future in mind, because the second I saw that trade go down, I thought to myself, oh, this is a championship level move by the Connecticut Sun, right? That's the kind of move that a team that thinks it can win a championship is going to do. And two, I thought to myself, oh, the Sky are going to go into a free fall. And they did. And that they were one of the only team I think that was worse than the Sky post All-Star break was the Sparks. And I only say that because the Sky beat the Sparks head to head. So there's a long way to go. And they don't exactly have the bet. They're not, their draft position for this year is affected by the previous Mabry trade. It won't matter, I don't think, because of where the Wings finished in the standings. But nonetheless, they're not, going to pick as high as getting one of the premier impact players, usually, unless they draft really well. And that's incumbent on the GM. Again, Angel could take another leap next season. But I think Weatherspoon being fired, I'm not saying she was the cause of anything. This may be a symptom of what's going on. But I do think the Sky situation is not a great one right now if we're just reading the tea leaves.